SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. And my name is Neil, and I am in the Grandma's Couch studio, joined by Jeff the Italian Stallion.
Hello.
And look who's just coming on screen. If you are one of our...
Hey, I'm just going to say you set him up for this.
You did.
I did not. If you're one of our lucky listeners who never has to look at our ugly mugs, I will let you know that Scott just sprinted like a dead sprint into the studio space, and
you didn't even have him coffee cake ready.
Right? I have no water or coffee.
You have
cake.
no water, no
Davey!
coffee cake. Savage,
Davey!
savage. Oh,
This is what happens when vintage Jeep leaves.
Can you
What I-
serve
For a
Davey some
podcast.
or serve Scott some coffee cake
What I-
and water?
what I do have is
No,
delicious
there's more.
coffee cake
He does.
and coffee here in studio. I've been eating it, just letting it.
Very good stuff.
Jeffrey's got some too.
Yes.
And want to take a moment to say thank you to Chip and Aaron for this wonderful contribution, this breakfast of champions. In general, I was telling my wife over the weekend how I love our customers. They know the best way to our hearts is through our stomachs.
She didn't make just one coffee
No,
cake.
she made like 10 pounds of coffee cake.
all the coffee cake.
So much.
Dose
so much
coffee
coffee
cakes,
cake.
full pans.
And then he talked about coffee. He wants to bring us that. I don't drink coffee, and I was like, that sounds really good.
Sounds like you might like that.
I
huh?
might try
It's
that.
a bourbon something coffee.
Bourbon barrel aged or something?
Yeah, by
Yeah.
last
I
six.
thought I
or
heard
Gotcha
something about
six.
bacon too.
Oh my gosh, Savage is the best. Here he is. He is just
Thank you, Savage.
you are the man. Well, so now we're all appropriately coffee
Yes.
caked and with
As we should be.
liquids for morning consumption. And we are in the midst of saying good morning and thank you to folks. And I do want to admit that I took a portion of the coffee cake home to my family over
As
the
you
weekend.
We
and make
cannot
sure-
eat that much coffee.
No, we
cake.
can't. We
This
can't.
is breakfast for the week as far as
Oh
I'm
yeah,
concerned.
absolutely. And I took it home, and my wife is like, "That's so kind of all of your customers." And I said, "Well, there's actually like a little competition."
Yes.
And it's like we love and have the adoration. You have our adoration as our viewers, our listeners, all three of you, and obviously all of our customer base.
Mm-hmm. They have some voracious bakers.
Oh,
And we have
wait
some
a minute.
amazing-
What are you doing, Jeffrey?
What? Grandma's couch is gonna get mice now. God bless it, Jeffrey. Can't take you anywhere. I was saying we have some incredibly generous individuals who continue to support this endeavor, and we thank you so much for that. From the baked goods, the donuts, to the meals and food that you bring in, to the little tokens of appreciation you send us and you share with us. You give us that extrinsic motivation to kind of take our processes, our pedantic nature, our
Now you're just using
obsessive
big words that don't
processes.
exist.
They do exist, Scott. They're not combined words like you use.
Come on.
Scott's the king of compounding words, right?
Yes, we're gonna have a Scott dictionary someday.
We are. But you guys are our motivation to kind of keep doing our process, and we thank you for that. And a big shout out to our Patreons who specifically financially support us and support this program. So that's a huge thing from us to you.
So Scott mentioned the dictionary thing. I I think when we go to do a Scott dictionary, we make Scott draw images representing each of the words that he made up.
That could be arranged.
He's a good artist.
I know.
He's an artistic
That's
brain.
why I'm saying.
He's an artistic brain, no doubt.
So
who are
in the
we've got
comments,
comments? We haven't. I was too busy on my soapbox thanking all of our folks
Yeah,
out.
nobody
in,
knows who we are.
I'm just going to say good morning to everybody first. We
Good
got
morning,
Darla
good
saying good
morning.
morning.
I
Chip,
see.
Roy, Justin say good morning. Chip was having audio issues. He restarted it. He's all better. Justin, he's going to send us cookies.
Heck yeah.
Dale said good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And Darla said Scott's Pictionary.
Yes.
Scott's Pictionary. How fantastic. You guys are whom? For our listeners at home who are not joining us, and it's important to note, you can always join us live,
Well, I'll
10:19
go
a.m.
first
on
since
the Book
Jeff's
of
ready
Faces.
to-
I'm the 5-year-old spilling coffee
I'm
cake all
going-
over
you're going to have to go to the kitchen table.
I need
last
the kids' table.
You need the kids' table.
Where's my TV stand?
Where's your TV tray?
Uh,
We're still looking, folks, for that tin. Usually has like a little flower arrangement
Yes.
on the top TV tray.
yes.
Darla, I know
70s
that
brown.
you are like one of the best like Facebook Marketplace lookers.
Yes.
I'm
If
I'm
anyone
looking at
can.
you. I'm counting on you to look for Grandma's TV tray, or if anybody's going to the
Really wanna
secondhand
donate.
stores. Yep.
So I'm a mad scientist Scott Brown since he's over there shoveling in coffee cake.
And you
That's
made a
so
Jeep
good.
go away this morning.
And I did. Made a Jeep go on a trailer. I was ready for him to drive it home, but
I tried to encourage him to drive it home. He was here to trailer it. He was really excited. If you check out our latest couple YouTube videos, you'll see that we turned out another beautiful CJ7.
Mhm.
This one definitely a little less restored than some of the prior.
It's a Survivor.
It's a Survivor Jeep, and
Scott's loved on it a little bit, improved it in certain areas. Now it hit the key, it fires right up. This is the best running one,
without
without
a doubt.
right out of the gate. It just wants to go get driven.
It's as good as driving Chuck Norris. I mean, it just fires right up,
Yes.
and it just flat out works.
Plenty of power. It's got a little 304 in it.
I'm a
Very
little
happy.
disappointed that Paul came and got it because I was selfishly looking
Yeah.
forward to driving it this week because we were ready. And you and I talked, and we said, "Hey, you know what? I think Paul should take that home, right?
Yes.
Try to enjoy some of the summer,
Yep.
or some of the remaining
The fall.
fall summer, right?
Yes.
We'll get that second
As
summer.
I told him, nothing beats going on open top vintage Jeep ride and looking at the leaves, doing the covered bridge tour.
100%.
I mean, there's so many things we're so blessed in this area
Yeah.
to be able to do. It's only better in a CJ.
It is,
or
and
any
one that
vintage
runs and
Jeep.
drives and handles like that one,
Yes.
without question.
I mean, me and my wife, we took our personal 7, and we had never done all the bridges, and we did a, hey, we're gonna do this, and we only half committed, and then we went full commit on the trail or on the path of
yes,
doing
yes,
it.
yes.
And we did it our own time. You don't have to do it on the day they have it.
Yeah, for our listeners, understand Northeastern Ohio, even Western Pennsylvania, we have something fairly unique. A lot of areas have covered bridges. It's an
Yeah.
old wooden structure. It can have a steel underlayment, framework, or concrete.
But most are
but
literally timbers.
Most of them are
fell
literally
from
like
trees.
a rough cut style timber, enclosed covered bridge. And there's this iconic piece of like American history,
Yep.
and our particular area is saturated with them.
Yes.
And we have, festivals like somewhere might have. Of course, they did literally have a grape festival here, but other parts of the country have pickle festivals and
Yes.
strawberry
Apple
festivals
festivals.
and apple festivals and
Yep.
whatnot. We literally have covered bridge festivals.
Yep.
Which, if you are a motorhead, and I don't care if it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels or 3 wheels or
All of
18
them.
wheels. No, you can't take 18 wheelers. I guess.
I mean, you can
across
park
them.
next to the bridge.
You can park next to the bridge. You go and you drive from location to location, and there's
Yep.
beautiful creeks and streams that cross underneath of them, and
And it is
it's a
important
cool
to note,
experience.
they are not all paved. You are going on dirt roads for some of this. But me and my wife, we accidentally do things all the time, and we accidentally did every bridge on the tour. By the time we were done, it was dark. The kids had tapped out. They were asleep in the back. They were done.
Yep.
They were put blankets over their heads.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun in her Jeep, making memories, and that's what I want for our customers.
And I do believe there's some covered bridge stuff coming up, and maybe we'll talk sometime. Maybe we'll just use our podcast to talk about the geography of our area,
That would
because
be fun.
you can hang out on the beach and get a suntan, in the summer, and then or go beach glass searching or
Yep.
fishing. And then in the evenings or an alternative time, you can go into the woods, into the farmland, and find the covered bridges and
Yes, we have
the
a very
vineyards.
unique thing.
We have a very biodiverse area. And then as automotive enthusiasts, really allows us to do some cool stuff with that.
Yep.
You, sir, when you're done cleaning the crumbs off you and spilling them in Grandma's couch and
That's
all
gonna
that
be
kind
a
of
while. I mean, you got crumbs on you at this point, so
stuff. No, you
Nowhere
can,
near as
not
bad
that-
as you.
no, nowhere near as bad. But
I'm gonna take a picture
Yes.
for our Patreons and
so I'm Jeff Shermani, the producer,
at the kids
crumb.
table today,
At the Crumb King.
the crumb king.
the crumb king for the day. Oh,
Oh boy.
we're off to a banging start, folks. We are off to a banging start.
So, anyways, this coffee cake is really good.
So good, so good. No, that's great. And kudos to Paul and Maggie. Enjoy your Jeep. What finished that thought I had shared with you is that you and I had talked on the phone and said, you know what, we should just let him take it.
Yeah.
It was not a full restoration. It was a very invasive process, but not a
Yes.
full restoration. And the challenge, twofold. One, you always say the Jeep will tell us what it needs. And that's one of the mad scientist's famous lines. The Jeep will tell us what it needs.
Yep.
And we had gotten to the point where it needed less.
Yes.
It still needs things 'cause it's not a restoration, literally. And we as individuals always seek to optimize. We invest more time, energy, and effort than any other automotive business in the planet because we're always seeking to optimize our users' experience, our customers' experience.
And I don't want to settle, so I still want it to be this high quality, well thought out process.
Despite the fact we're not restoring it, right?
And I actually gone over that with Paul. Like, you actually made me use my brain. I had to figure out, like, how am I going to make the fuel lines I like to make. I can't take the body off the frame, so how am I going to wedge these in here and make it look like they're supposed to be there?
Right.
I still wanted that process to be our process. So
Well, and so you and I, phone conference at the beginning of the week, and I said, you know what, we're going to tell Paul to take it.
Yep.
Well, just out of some, communication, breakdown in communication as far as text message exchange and whatnot, he didn't get it till after hours and schedule. He said, you know what, we'll just worry about it next weekend. And I was like, yeah, I get another week to drive that thing. And then he hit me up last night and he was like, I think I'm going to come tomorrow morning to pick it up. I was like, no, I want that V8 wind therapy.
Yeah.
Just a couple more comments here. Charles said, good morning from Central Texas.
Hey, Charles, thanks for joining us, man.
Your wife Amy said, good morning.
Good morning.
And then Charles also said, you're also lucky to have those bridges.
We are. Yeah, they're
Yes.
a beautiful, beautiful landmarks. So, all right. So what is going on in our lives? It is important to note, if you're joining us for the first time, I Speak Jeep is about the rugged individualism that the Jeep life gives us. It's the places and the things and the experiences that we're open to because of our automotive passions. You can check out a similar storyline on Life in Low Range on our YouTube channel. We have kind of rebranded our vlog series, which was formerly Tech Tuesday, and it has morphed into Life in Low Range. It's a fun kind of showcase some of the Jeeps we're working on and some of the shenanigans we get ourselves into. This here and now, we've built a lot of Jeeps. We've done a lot of cool things. This is, as individuals, we've got a lot going on in our own lives. And so we like to share how, where and how the Jeep life has taken us. But also, hold on, folks, because we're going to be talking about towing. This is going to be the dose episode out of a series of 3 on towing. And I believe we're going to be talking about our experiences with Jeep specifically today.
Well, no, we did that last week. We're going to be talking about technical specs.
Technical specs. And how I am disregarding all of those technical
Yes.
specs of my own personal
I'm going to
experience.
enter into
I-
Scott specs.
I'm okay with this because I also
Yeah.
did not get all the printouts for every
I
year.
recommend maybe not following the Scott rules.
I think that's probably valuable.
I
But
don't
I'm gonna
think
tell you
I don't
what-
think anybody should follow any of our rules when it comes to
But I'm
towing.
going to tell you
Probably
what,
true, folks.
I'm going to tell you how Scott uses his half-ton JK.
Oh my God! I hope we actually have some technical talk for you, so
I
that we can.
got plenty of Scott technical.
That's what I'm worried about. We're just going to reinforce each other.
Yes, that's fine.
There's
Anyway.
somebody out there who's just scrolling an engineering schematic and
Yeah.
disagreeing entirely.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
All right. So what's going on in your life? The 36 is outside.
So I have an important, I was injured by trying to make a fire. I made my own fire. It was actually a really good fire. It was such
I
a
want
good
to.
fire.
I want to reiterate for those that did not listen in last week. The fire did not injure you. You
No.
were not burnt.
No,
I think
this
it was 2
fine.
weeks
You-
ago.
you
Can we actually just say I think that was 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago?
still
Because he's
injured.
been nursing this
Yes.
darn park bench assault for 2 weeks now.
I
That's-
have been.
Yeah, it was running to go start a
To try
fire.
to start a fire.
Not running to
No,
put a fire
no,
out. Not running.
no,
For, he was
no.
just running in the middle of the night.
He was running to woo his wife.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's
say.
do SFJ 4x4 difference and not talk about the surface level.
Yes.
But what is the reality situation? He was so compelled to woo his wife that he was sprinting in the dark to try and start a fire because somehow this would impress her,
Yes.
and instead got
Wow.
assaulted by a random park bench that he has put in his backyard.
I think it would impress her if he actually did start a fire.
Finally, 2 weeks later and broken ribs, he has finally done it.
Yeah, I've done that. But it sadly took my son trying to do Scott and rush in to do a fire. And I was like, listen, son, we got to slow down. We got to do a certain amount of steps. And magically, fire happens.
I'm glad that it took
He's-
both
he-
of you.
he
It
is
took
literally-
2 Browns.
He is literally practicing for our one-match challenge.
He is.
That's
he
true.
is.
Took me three matches, but it's a process.
Hey,
So we had set some
3
ground
matches
rules.
is better than your normal propane torch.
It is.
We have set some ground rules, and this is we got to figure out when this is going to happen. But folks who joined us last week, and if this is your first time joining us, I encourage you to go back and find that podcast. The challenge has been established. It is going to be on Scott's home turf,
Yep.
and is a 1-match challenge
I'll be
to
soaking some wood for some
create
people.
a fire. To create a fire, and it has to be gathered organically or kind of spontaneously
Yes.
from your
We
location.
have to accidentally make a fire. I'm good at that.
We're gonna make a fire, and
Anyway.
God bless it.
So,
I'm glad it took 2 biological Browns to make a fire.
well, he had his own fire. That's important to note. And we got that going. I was like, okay, we got yours going.
Good
I'm going
for
to go
Aiden.
try my own fire over here. And it worked out so well. The fire would not go out, and it literally burned for 24 hours.
What were you burning? Did
I
you?
think he
Nothing.
poured oil in it.
No, I did
Yeah,
not.
I mean,
There's
I don't
oil in the bottom
condone
of that.
burning fiberglass or tires,
No.
folks, by any stretch
None
of
of
the
that happened.
imagination.
It was just the fire just really wanted to burn. I did poke at it a lot and move things around and talk to it and that kind of stuff, which all seemed to help. But we did have fire
It's
again
like a
last
metaphor
night.
for your life. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
right?
lie. Like that's
But-
how you approach.
But we literally got to
everything.
sit next to the same fire, same embers, same everything last night as well. So it was pretty cool. 2 nights in a row. It did finally go out. I went and checked this morning. It was like, okay, I'm done.
Oh, that
Yeah,
is cool. Good
You
for
do
you.
24 hours. But it was funny. Aiden went out to check on it yesterday morning. He's like, the fire's still going. Should
Yeah.
I put it out? Nope. The fire wants to live. We're
The
just going to let the
fire
fire, and we're going to come out and check on the fire now and then. And we'll, as
I
long
love
as,
the person you're becoming. I do. The fire wants to live. Let the
Yeah.
let the spirits of the fire
Yeah, it's fine.
release.
So, but by the time Amy got home last night, it was kind of like, okay, I'm done. I'm tired. I did have to do a lot of talking to the fire to make it continue to go, but we were able to sit next to it, so that was pretty cool.
So Charles chimed in and said, fire, that's easy. I've got gas.
Yes.
And while, yes, that will help start a fire,
Previous
I have
Scott
seen-
experience, I had it go out on me. with
Of course you did.
gas.
I have no words. I have literally seen people, though, pour gasoline onto a fire pit, not realizing that the way that they stacked the sticks and logs,
Went underneath of it.
it went underneath and built the gas up, so when they lit it, it just exploded.
Yeah.
And just,
Yeah,
it's
don't-
very dangerous.
Don't do that.
I've done it.
I've done it, but
I
it's
don't
very
recommend
dangerous.
it. I lit my friend on fire that way, that exact way.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
I had a friend in high school that
Are
tried
they
to
still
look
your
down
friend?
the
Is
gas
that
can.
that's the question.
Are they still my friend? That is a great question.
You have to
they-
tune in next week to
Yeah, I
find
was
that
gonna
out.
say you're gonna have to tune in. Hey.
Can we get said friend on air?
Oh man, I will say, because this is largely our adult audience that our that our podcast is oriented towards. Though it's family friendly. His Instagram handle is Rogue Meatwad at this point. So We could probably get him on air, but
I'm questioning whether we should at this point.
I just wonder if we should.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. We are absolutely friends. He only, it only minorly burnt his leg. It was okay.
Minor,
Minor
Whatever.
First degree.
It's whatever. He had jeans on. They're like,
Oh,
that's
he's
like
fine.
armor, He's fine.
It was a little warm, nothing major.
The challenge is I also lit a gas can on fire in the exact same sweeping scenario.
That is Neil. It takes you twice
And
sometimes.
I lit the nozzle, so it's exactly now I got to tell the story. So it did exactly what you said, right? So we poured gas on that side of the fire. I, emboldened by the moment, decided to pour gas on the opposite side of the fire. We're 16 or 17 and dumb, and we're at a bonfire in the woods with our vehicles and all that kind of stuff. And of course, I had a gas can, or my buddy had a gas can because
you had a YJ.
because exactly right. and so somebody lit it on that side, and your scenario is exactly that. Serendipitously, by just God's grace, it went under the fire, whoosh, and whooshed towards me as I'm pouring gas on the opposite side of the fire.
Oh yeah, follow the
It
the
follows the fumes and the string it comes up what I'm pouring,
Yeah.
and it lights the nozzle on fire of the can that I'm holding.
Yep.
And I turn,
And continue to spread fire.
and I now have a flamethrower because of momentum. And I promise you, there were no shy of 3 people, one of which got completely, like, his whole leg doused in gasoline from said flamethrower. And I ended up basically, I'm sitting, I mean, you have this moment of like, come to Jesus, and I'm like, I am holding a gas can
That's on fire.
that is on fire.
Yeah, I should put this down.
I should put this down. So I took it out to a open area away from all of our vehicles and away from the people. And of course, this all is happening very quickly. And then it just sat there and smoldered. Now, at this point in my life, I understand that it probably would have just done a big whoosh and gone away.
Yeah.
Right?
But,
Would not have-
16-year-old Neil was
But
expecting an
16
explosion.
or 17 expected an explosion that was going to incinerate the people at the campfire and the
Yes.
vehicles that were parked around and all that
Yes.
kind of stuff.
Pandemonium was going to happen.
Well, no doubt. And of course, we certainly did not want our parents to find out by burning the gas can down and, said explosion and whatnot. And one of my best friends who's no longer with us, he was just a super brave soul. And I remember we all took cover and we're watching this gas can. And it was like a couple waiting for it to explode.
Yes.
And it was a couple. I mean, I'm sure it was only a couple seconds, but it felt like forever as we sat there and we watched this gas can. And I still remember watching Joey from like he wasn't by me. He was 15, 20 feet, run into this open field and kick the can over and start stomping out the spout. It was absolutely epic. I then ended up having to sneak back to my parents' house and steal the nozzle off of one of our extra gas cans
And now we find out the truth.
to supplement the can that I had lit on fire and try to put it back into the garage and at the place we were at quietly.
That's
All
funny.
right. That was it for me. That was it for me. We need to move on with life and talk about towing things eventually. What's going on in your guys' lives? I need not to share anymore.
Yeah, I think you've shared enough.
Yeah. So we were doing Morgan's birthday weekend kind of thing. His birthday was Friday. He turned 8. So we took him down to Walnut Beach, which is a nice beach out in Ashtabula,
Yes, totally.
down by the harbor. And he specifically wanted to go there because of the pirate ship playground.
Oh, that's fun.
So we went there. They went down to the water, played in the water a little bit, and then that was pretty much what we did for the weekend.
Yeah.
Just let him enjoy a fun weekend.
We tried to embody the Simpsons, and we also went out to Conneaut Beach and looked for beach glass and got some sand and some other stuff yesterday morning. So it was
Fantastic
very
natural resources we have
great
here.
experiences, locally.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if you're local enough to do it, you should do it.
And
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
we're
want to get the beach glass, you got to get out there early.
Oh, we
yeah.
are
was-
official beach glass hunters.
I was not prepared for how many people were out as windy and as rough the lake was.
Yes.
There was a ton of people on
That's
the beach.
because it turns up the best glass and
Yep.
rocks and stones. There's
People
a whole
were digging
Oh yeah.
There were some serious people. I was not prepared.
Oh yeah.
I came with a little jar.
People are coming out there with sifters,
Oh,
just
yeah.
scooping and
Yeah,
sifting.
there was a guy that was further up the beach that had a 5-gallon pail that was just getting big rocks. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Oh,
I see you.
rocks, driftwood. I mean,
Yeah.
there is all types of people down there gathering resources.
Constantly cleaning the beach.
Constantly cleaning the beach and
Yeah.
gathering resources that the water, the Great Lakes give us. And
Some of
it's-
that driftwood is amazing for
Oh, yeah.
landscaping and decoration.
Absolutely.
And we were, we did finally think like, hey, we should take a garbage bag and get some garbage off the beach. And we were able to do a little bit of that, but I again, was not completely prepared for
It's a
all
cool
that.
experience, though, and I
Yeah.
mean, for us, as we kind of transitioned into the area and the house build and all that kind of stuff, that has been a big getaway for us. It's free in the world of inflation and
Yep.
other economic issues. You go down there. We're so thankful for this resource that we have here
Mhm.
in northeastern Ohio, and we go down there and the kids can swim if they want or play in the sand and play with the rocks.
Yep.
And my wife is such a voracious beach glass hunter that depending on the mood she's in, that most recently we just walked and shared the whole time. And as she would gather kind of a good helping of beach glass, she would encounter some of these people who were like super hardcore
Yeah.
and give hers away. You should see how, like, when somebody is so hardcore, like, I'm finding the best beach glass.
Yes.
And my wife goes, "Are you guys searching for beach glass?" And they're like, "Yes, I have sifters and boots and all this stuff." You know,
you
It's
are
just
not
like,
going to take my beach class.
yeah, you're not going to take my beach glass. And she's like, "Here, take all of this." You know what I mean? And it's like
And they're like,
they
"What?"
just immediately melt away, and then
Yeah.
they start sharing and telling
and,
their
that,
stories.
and that's
stuff.
Jen Lynn.
Yeah,
in
and
a
that's exactly
nutshell.
it. And that's exactly it. It was
One thing I was excited, which Amy seemed to know, and I just did not know, but I guess we have a lot of purple beach glass on Cognac Beach.
Oh.
We've been finding it all over the place.
interesting.
I'm going to try to polish some up, see if it'll, because it looks like a grayish dark rock, but it is glass. So we'll see if we can get some shine out of it.
I
and see
think
the
you're
purple.
talking about pirate glass.
Yes.
Okay.
You're talking about pirate glass, which is
There's
there's
said it was from a factory or something.
yes, yeah, it's slag, and it's super cool because it will. It is, and so my son is obsessed with pirate glass.
Mm.
You can actually sell pirate glass on eBay.
We're talking the smallest like specks of grain of blue glass is all we were finding.
Correct.
And a little bit of clear. The purple, I mean, we got one that's like
Yep.
$50 size.
Yeah. Oh, you'll get huge pirate glass.
Yeah.
Should I blow Scott's mind and tell him how he can just make beach glass at home?
No.
No.
That's not, no.
It's not frosted enough.
It's
All
not-
right,
no,
let's
it's not even fun.
let's talk about Jeeps and towing, and other things. We're supposed to be being technical.
Yes.
What technical specifications do you know, Jeffrey?
I know JLJT tech specs.
Well, that's good. That's what you
That's
drive.
good. That's what you drive. So
So there's, depending on the trim level, the year you buy a Jeep, it's constantly different. I know with Gladiators specifically, that you could go from a 3,000 pound tow package all the way up to 6,750. So all depending on your trim
Right.
and
I
your
did not
package.
realize it went that low.
yeah, I didn't think it was
This
3,000.
gave me a little bit of a panic attack.
Well, so here's the thing,
So
folks.
if you buy it a Sport with no tow package, it's 3,000 pounds. If you buy it with a tow package, it goes to 6,000 pounds. Then there's a 4,000, a 4,500 or something like that, and then a 6,500 and a
So
6,750.
what I hear is that when I go to buy my Gladiator, I have to have Jeff sign off.
yeah,
Just make
So-
sure it comes with a tow package. That makes all the difference right there.
Well, that isn't always because a dealer could put a hitch on.
Well, that's
so
true.
here's the thing, folks. We're going to try to navigate the technical minutia of towing to the best of our ability, and we're going to try to talk about some facts of what makes for a good towing experience.
Yep.
And then we're going to try to talk factually about kind of some safety aspects of towing and
We may have learned the hard way.
may have learned the hard way. I was towing everything this weekend,
As you
and
should.
yeah, and I ate some crow because I navigated the big truck and the flat trailer into a pretty tight location, and I
Yeah,
told
you
my
enjoy
parents,
that.
yeah, no, I did until I was on my like a 60-point turn where
Yeah.
I was, where I was inching forward and backing up 3 feet, and then
You're-
inching forward and
You're
backing
doing
up
that
3 feet.
famous movie thing where you have the golf cart.
The
that's
golf
completely
cart in the
sideways.
hallway and
Yeah.
sideways.
Yeah.
That was basically what my truck was in this yard over the
Well,
weekend.
thank goodness it's a two-wheel drive and it turns a little harder, so you're able to get.
It does. It does. Yeah. And so we're going to try to talk about some of those factual conversations around towing because I think it's so interesting. Many Jeep owners have a utility trailer
Mhm.
that supplements their Jeep, right?
Yes. So that
And-
comes back from when we couldn't have a Jeep truck. Maybe you had a Comanche and it rusted away, or your J truck fell apart, and now you're into a TJ or something of that nature.
Well, and I certainly grew up never having the J truck or the Comanche.
Right.
We only ever had Wranglers.
so
so
we
we-
need that little utility
We
trailer.
had to have the little utility trailer.
Unless you're like me and you just stuff trees and
The
close
way
vehicle.
that
I was
you
gonna
have
say-
used the interior of your Jeep is unlike any other human being
No.
I know. That is true.
I mean, when you're transporting engines on a regular
Meh.
basis,
In the backseat of your Jeep.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. You are the reason why seat covers have had to improve over the years. And floor coverings, right? The plastic or
Yeah,
hard
I will tell
Carolina
you
floor
this.
coverings.
the fiber board that's in the back of a JK, if your flathead falls over and it has head studs in it, it's going to puncture that and may make it a little
Do you know
worse
how
for
many
wear.
of our listeners
I'm
are
not
carrying
gonna do that.
around a 300-400 pound flathead V8 in the back of their
Yeah,
JK
I've
right
done
now?
it for you. I tested it.
It's just the reality of the situation.
So, real quick, Chuck actually just chimed in with a really good question. How much of a manufacturer tow rating is liability BS, and can tow rating be increased or improved?
So this is personal soapbox, so I will take this one.
I'm also going to talk about some of the acronyms and other stuff that we're going to get into
Yep.
when talking about the big picture. So after Scott.
So manufacturing tow rating, if you believe all that's on the internet, and Neil can probably weigh in on this a little bit, you are limited to what the manufacturer says it will tow. It don't care if you put 1-ton axles like Chuck Norris under it. That does not increase its approved tow rating.
Mm-hmm.
But this being me, and because I'm like half adopted brother to him,
Yep.
I do what I feel comfortable with, and kind of throw that to whatever. I will tell you that my Jeep stock off the showroom floor was 2,500 pounds, and I can easily over that, and the Jeep is confident. It brakes, it steers, everything feels safe. Way more than my 68 Chevy C10, which is a half-ton pickup truck, which is rated for 5,000 pounds. The other part of my soapbox that I always get on to is you go onto like a Grand Cherokee or even my wife's Outback, some of those, they are literally rated for 5,000 pounds. We're talking a unibody vehicle at that point.
Right.
I have a full frame. I have actual axles. And the other thing I always get upset about is if you take that vehicle, like say my JK, to the UK, suddenly it might as well be a 1-ton pickup truck.
Sure.
That's how they use it there. And it is just the restrictions they have are not the same ones that we have here. So if you have a Sport or a Sahara here, you have a 2,500 pound on your JK models restriction. If you have a Rubicon, you have a 3,500 pound. With that said, on my personal Jeep, I have the brakes upgraded. I have the springs upgraded. I have, anytime I'm towing a bigger trailer, I have trailer brakes on the trailer. I have a weight distributing hitch.
And you upgraded your axle too.
And I have 44s front and back, which the 44s in the front of mine is way beefier than anything a Rubicon has. But that's just me. That's what Scott would do. That's Scott's towing specs.
So the legal liability is that if you go above manufacturer spec,
Yes.
you are legally liable in the event
Yes.
of an accident,
Yes.
or if you got pulled over and they did a weight check on you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it's valuable for us as a institution of genuinely dedicated professionals, right? And we do a lot of goofy stuff, and you'll watch my videos where we hop around and joke and have a lot of fun. That there are individuals, and I am respectful of their positions, both in as our first responder authorities. So whether that be police, EMS, DOT, whoever, however, in their roles. Additionally, there are engineers that we have to give credence to say, that they have done their job and their education and what they bring to the table is for a reason. So then where the conversation of the BS gets into the minutia of where the legalese enters the equation to say what gets kind of watered down for paying for certain standings, or when you raise a cargo carrying capacity, it puts you into a different category for EPA issues and other, other agreed upon regulations federally or locally. And so that's where the minutia is, not in the defined roles of these individuals, be it the engineers or the first responders enforcing these agreed upon codes and edicts. So it's valuable to say as we walk this conversation with you on technical stuff, this is something that I have been towing for many, many, many years. And I have towed very big things and I've towed very little things. Mm-hmm. I've towed very inappropriately and I've towed very, you can sometimes see a garden trailer behind one of my big trucks and, it doesn't even know it's back there. And there's so many aspects of this industry that too many people, certainly under COVID, it was too easy to access a truck with a high tow rating, with a hitch, and a trailer. Yep. And we had astronomical liability extended to the insurance and auto manufacturers industry because way too many people jumped in a truck and a trailer and crashed them.
I mean, my wife asks me all the time, she'll see a big, Class A motorhome pusher with a huge trailer on the back. She's like, that doesn't need any extra license. I was like, nope.
Well, and actually, my best friend sent a picture to me of that.
Yeah.
It was an RV pulling like an excavator. And I was like, I feel attacked because I've done it. I've done it. And specifically when we bought the motorhome that SFJ traveled in for, 4 or 5 years in the mid-teens, I bought a Freightliner chassis, right? I mean, that's what we specifically bought, a Freightliner chassis, Holiday Rambler with a Cummins, diesel engine, so that we could hook up to a stupid amount of weight, and then Greg reinforced the hitch for us. Yep. So here's I think it's important to kind of start with vehicles are engineered by individuals, humans, who are just doing their job and who have ample education. And they are trying to provide the highest quality product within the restrictions that they are exposed to. Mm-hmm. So it's like asking Scott to not restore a Jeep, right? So the idea of what you mentioned earlier in the program was you were making fuel lines with having to work around an old body that wasn't, that was still on the frame, old frame that wasn't clean. Yep. Body mounts that were sagging a little over here and good over there, and you're having to do the best you can within the constraints of that given situation. Yep. The engineers designing these vehicles are working the same way, folks. Yes. They're working within the constraints of the liability of their legal teams. There are actual federal regulations for tow ratings on platforms of vehicles, so you can't take a 1,500-pound car and say that it can tow 3,000 pounds. It probably can, because the reality is, once you get a vehicle moving, momentum, you can use very little output to get a load moving. It's the weight and mass of braking and stability while traveling.
Oh, so we're going into physics lessons.
I do. I mean,
an object in motion tends to stay in motion.
An object in motion tends to stay in motion. So if you're trying to tow a really big trailer with a little small object, it's doable, but you're not going to stop on a dime. And if you're careening through an S-curve, the likelihood is the trailer could push you along as well.
And that's another thing is I've been told multiple times I can just kind of do physics in my head and figure out what I should.
That's
or
called
shouldn't do.
common sense. That's
Yeah.
not physics in your head.
Well-
man, that's called common sense. And the challenge is the common sense is not common.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true. But I think what the ratings are for is for the lowest common denominators for someone that's not going to know, hey, the vehicle that's towing should be larger than what you're towing behind, that kind of scenario. That's something I automatically will look at and be like, I'm not going to hook up a JK on a trailer behind my JK. I want the vehicle that I'm towing behind me to be lighter than what I'm towing it with. That is just, like you said, common sense for me.
So you wouldn't tow my trailer behind my Gladiator?
Well, it is lighter than your Gladiator.
I don't know. It's
You
close.
don't know?
It's close.
So
I mean, Jeff can do whatever Jeff specs he wants to do. I'll say that.
I
Scott
have,
will do Scott specs.
but it does have full working trailer brakes
Yep.
with a brake controller. So
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So what things do actually exist for sure is you have what's called combination. So if you get into a conversation with commercial drivers, that information becomes incredibly convoluted,
Yes.
right? There's gross vehicle weight ratings, gross combination weight ratings,
Yep.
and a couple other acronyms that get kind of mixed down to GVW.
I absolutely love those because if you look in your manufacturer's book of what the specs are for your vehicle,
Mhm.
and it'll say, okay, this vehicle has 4,500 pound tow capacity, and it's supposed to be based on the math of that gross vehicle weight and everything. Very rarely do I ever see that actually matching up.
Right. So
Sometimes it's more,
Well, and
sometimes
the
it's
other
less.
thing part of that too is you have to put under what you're putting on your vehicle.
Correct.
So they may rate it for that with one driver.
Yes,
You
because your
suddenly
low capacity will change that.
So suddenly you put you and your three best buddies in there, and your one buddy's 400 pounds in the back seat, and now we're going to hook up to a car trailer and put, I don't know, Chuck Norris on there with 1-ton axles and
Sure.
something with a V8 swap, that kind of stuff. We're now encroaching on that danger level.
Right.
Where me, with my JK, with just me and my wife and my two little kids, with nothing in the back of my Jeep, I purposely try to keep it empty and then purposely load it safely. And then I monitor my speed, that kind of stuff. I might be able to get to the same spot safely and they may not. But technically, we're both over.
Correct.
So here's the thing with these prescribed numbers. They exist to keep us as general consumers safe on the shared roadways.
Yes.
I think that that's one of the most valuable things for me to that's how I front load the conversation about how I tow, is that there are a lot of rules and regulations that our commercial drivers are subjected to. And I thank them for doing their best to work within those constraints
when
on
you-
an everyday basis.
When you have a trucker that's doing 1,000,000 miles a year or so and he has no incidents, that's impressive.
It is impressive.
Absolutely.
It's phenomenal. And the idea that sometimes in all aspects of life, we're always pushing the bounds just a little bit.
Yes.
And so it's kind of this tug of war of what bounds do I push and which bounds shouldn't I push. So
And another thing I'll add, just because of some of my background, I did do drafting, I did do engineering in college, that kind of stuff. I know most engineers will over-engineer something, and then they come back about half or less.
I think that's
for
life in
using-
general, right?
use. That gives you longevity out of it. That is my saying of build a big anvil, use a small hammer. That is literally what you're doing, but that allows that bubble that increases and decreases in the middle of that use for the crazy people like me. It's going to do some half-ton things once in a while with my JK. Allows it to not fall apart on me. Likewise, the person that's going to normally just drive it to whatever is going to be completely fine as well.
So I think that that these are all valuable things, and to understand when it gets to the conversation about towing, that there are people who feel incredibly impassioned
Yes.
about this because their profession says so, and
or they read something.
or they read somewhere and they feel that they align with the safety precautions of to say, yes, it is engineered to run 7,000 pounds, but I'm going to make it 3,500 because now I know that I'm well within
Yes.
my comfortable constraints. I'm not operating at potential.
Yes.
I'm operating within potential.
And that allows for people that generally just don't realize how much stuff weighs and accidentally overloads a trailer.
Yes.
or a commercial operation that's actively looking to abuse it. Right?
Correct.
And that was the problem, is that there was a lot of this that was unregulated many years ago. And it's important to note, folks, that our tractors years ago did not have any of the horsepower that we now have.
It's
I mean, a lot of people
almost
know.
crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people know my big truck is for sale, and a couple people have reached out to me personally, like, "Oh, is it, what's wrong with it?" Blah blah blah. I'm thinking, I just want more horsepower.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to grab gears. I don't like being the guy who's doing 50, 55 uphill.
Yep.
I want to be hammered down at 70 plus.
Yep.
And just towing 3+ Jeeps to whatever show we go to.
Yep.
And that's a first world problem,
Yep.
because 50, 60 years ago,
You've been completely content at 55.
that was 40 was what a tractor was doing at that point.
Uphill loaded, yes.
Uphill loaded. And so through that process, we've kind of returned to center to this happy medium of commercial towing, but then there's a trickle down effect into the consumer market. And so just to make a statement on, a lot of people used to think that by changing the axles, double framing, doing a different gear ratio, adding brakes, that would affect the tow capacity of the vehicle. This, I believe to be factually true. Only constructed vehicles, so you have to be a registered auto manufacturer, are allowed to change the vehicle's weight rating, a gross or combined weight rating and towing capacity. That means you can no longer add a leaf or take a leaf out.
Yep.
You can't swap the axles around.
Yep.
That is a agreed upon regulatory number that an engineer designed, that the title company assigned to the vehicle, and that doesn't get to change. Now, where it gets confusing is you can go to the DMV or the BMV, depending on where you are, and you can register your truck or Jeep or whatever
In a different weight class.
in a different weight class.
yes.
So for me, my truck is always registered under a commercial weight class. I still operate commercial insurance and commercial plates on the truck based on the overall size of it. But wholly unrelated is the weight class that I am allowed to be using or carrying the truck in.
And isn't it a lot easier to de-weight a truck than to increase a weight on a truck?
So again, this is that technical.
And I'm talking commercial trucks and that's
So you actually can't. You can. That's registration. You never actually get to affect the potentiality
even a
of the truck.
semi that adds an extra tag axle or that kind of stuff does not change.
Does
what that
not change unless a registered auto manufacturer affects the change. And even then, if you already have a constructed vehicle and you're looking to change aspects of it, there's a whole other legal formula that is subject to it. So much of the confusion when it comes to trucks and towing and campers and all that kind of stuff has to do with what our commercial truckers are subjected to, and the improprieties that our commercial, or our consumer market is. That idea that somebody can get behind the same or a similar chassis RV and hook up to an excavator and legally tow it based on the fact that it is an RV. Likewise, I can get into a commercial truck, and so long as I don't hook up to a tractor and that truck is of a certain age, anybody listening, any of you can right now reasonably get behind a vintage semi truck and drive it anywhere in the country as you want as a pickup truck. You can. That's one of the weird things. Now, most people aren't going to.
Yeah.
But there's these, if A, then B equals,
Yeah.
D situations where it's hard to create a cookie cutter consistent experience. So when it comes to our Jeeps, we have a prescribed number that is arguably hard sandbagged
Yes.
to what we can actually do with them.
Yep.
Regardless of any modifications.
Regardless of any modification. Now, your TJ Wrangler, which is arguably was the optimized footprint.
I'd say it's the pinnacle of the original, air quotes,
Thank you.
original Jeep design.
You're finishing my thought process.
Yes.
It was the pinnacle of the original Jeep design. The
Yep.
the wheelbase, the width,
Yep.
the aspects of it. So realistically, that Jeep had 1,000 to 2,000 pound tow rating
Max.
max.
Yes.
Right?
And I can attest, towing with behind my wife's CJ7, I am not confident to do much over a little tiny like motorcycle trailer.
Yes.
Just the way the short wheelbase, the power, that kind of stuff. And I'm definitely not getting on I-90
Correct.
or the freeway and hammer down 3 states away. And that's the other clarifying thing I feel like I should say. I'm not towing out of state with my Jeep in this situation. I am doing short tows, and you be quiet over there. And that is literally why I specifically want a JT or a Gladiator, so that I'm more where I'm comfortable towing. The Jeep is more rated
Yes.
for where I am so to be, and now I feel safe. Like, hey, we want to take the camper and we want to go upper Michigan and investigate. Now, I'm different area, different cops, different rules, different regulations. Now I can be more confident in my weight rated vehicle, that I am legal in that instance, because I'm exposing myself to more risk.
Correct.
So real quick, I want to go to the comments because Charles had said, I'm confident up to 2,500 pounds with my YJ with a 2.5 and 8.8 rear end.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went on to say, I've got trailer brakes and use it to haul feed to cows in back pastures. The trucks that are 4x4 are too long to get into due to terrain.
I mean, that's a perfect example of, can the Jeep do it? Yes. But are you on a main thoroughfare? No.
No.
Are you doing a high speed? No.
Did he
It's-
upgrade? Did he upgrade his rear axle so that 35 is not going to snap a C clip
Yes.
and fall out on him?
He
He
did.
did good things.
Yes.
And
he's subscribing to Scott Tech.
And more on the Scott Tech is Chuck is saying brakes are definitely an area he wants to upgrade, looking at the Bayer kit. Close to 3,500 pounds with trailer fully loaded, not counting what's loaded inside the Jeep.
100%.
and that is the challenge. And so at any point in time, it is important to note for our listeners that DOT is within their legal correctness, their legal right to stop virtually any vehicle
anything.
with a trailer.
Yep.
Okay, they can arguably stop any vehicle that appears to be a commercially operating vehicle. So if you are a van
Yes.
that is transporting Amazon goods, and
If it's, say, you must to make it easy. Say it's got stickered up and it's some sort of UPS, FedEx, anything like that, or you have a brand name on the side of the van, they can and will pull you over.
They
And it
can.
doesn't matter if it's a Caravan or E150, 350, whatever.
yep,
The minute you put logos on there,
you are subject to their scrutiny.
Yes.
Right now, the reality is they've got bigger fish to fry. Just
Yes.
like our good dedicated first responders, they typically have bigger fish to fry than, hey, you've got a tail light out. But if you've got a tail light out and you didn't stop at that stop light and you're driving through the north side of
or
town,
swerving around.
you're swerving a little bit. All right, now they're going to pull you over for the tail light.
Or
you
your
know,
tire explodes on their windshield
Man,
and it's not tied down.
jeez. that happens.
Listen into last week's episode if you want to know more.
Yeah.
More on that.
So the thing is that DOT has a tremendous amount of reach. They don't even really have to have the probable cause per se that we
Yeah.
oftentimes think of other first responders having to, our public safety officials having to have. DOT can just say, you look like a commercial operation. I've
and
known
now you have to prove otherwise.
and you have to prove otherwise. I have friends who I had a friend and acquaintance who had a landscape business. It was a legitimate landscape business. It was a full size pickup truck, a zero turn, a weed whip, a blower on the like a garden trailer, oversized garden trailer. And because he came and went every day with the same load,
Yep.
DOT sitting along the same thoroughfare was like, I see you all the time.
Now I'm going to talk to you.
Now I'm going to talk to you.
Yes.
And pulled him over, just held him over the coals like I've had done
Happened.
before. And so he eventually has to get his DOT, and I don't know if he had to get a PUCO or state register, whatever he had to end up getting those commercially operating numbers. But they can, at that point in time, they can put you on scales.
Yep.
Likewise, if your vehicle is overloaded, so you have, let's just say you have a Gladiator and you're pulling an 86-foot long trailer
Triaxle.
that you have made yourself, and
Yeah.
it is 2 stories tall
I don't know anything about that.
through multiple states away.
Wow, I'm
At any
feeling called
point in
out.
time,
Jeff doesn't look so comfortable.
our
over
law
there.
enforcement is well within their means to pull you over and to scale your vehicle.
You know how many
They will-
times I got followed by police on that trip?
Oh,
I was
John.
waiting for it.
I don't doubt they wanted to see that trailer just do a little shimmy.
They wanted something.
They wanted
They were
that
waiting for
trailer
that
just
light to flicker or
flicker,
something.
a little shimmy, a little something. But they can pull you over at any point in time and check your width, your length, and your weight. Because they, as
And guess what? If you built your own trailer and they check the width and the length and realize your lights aren't placed correctly for that width and length, oh
You're-
boy.
You're in trouble.
so and that's the thing is that they're doing their job to try and protect the rest of the consumers or us as consumers from the people who are looking to abuse the process.
And that's another important thing is in those situations, you can't be my dad, do a Fred
yes,
and get all upset. And the cop is not there to be mean.
right.
He's not there to do a power struggle with you. You just need to be calm
Yeah.
and be like, go ahead and educate me. And even if he's wrong, I've been part of this. Luckily, I had Neil to talk me down.
Right.
Let him be right in that instance, and then you can talk about it later with a different.
Right. And
era.
that's the thing is that even if that trailer is within that 3,500 pounds, that whether it be 2 or
Yeah.
35 or 4 or 7,000 pounds, then
any-
you prove that point at another time. Right.
And the closer you get to that limit, you're right at the 3,500 pound like Chuck is, or you're right at that width, Jeffrey. Right?
So tractor trailer running down the
Yeah.
road behind his Gladiator.
That is going to
It's a
make
very
it harder.
comfortable camper.
Because we're going to go with measurements on the side of the highway.
Right.
So if you're within 1/8 of an inch of the legal, well, now we got something we can, like whose tape measure we measuring it with?
Sure.
Where are we actually hooking it onto? If you don't want those situations, then stay 2 inches inside that measurement.
Correct.
Or, in the middle of that design.
And it's important to note that when we talk about that tow rating, those numbers include everything from that hitch back. So, so as far as your trailer, if your trailer weighs 400 pounds, now the funny thing is that most people are really terrible at estimating the weights of their trailers and equipment that they take with them. And I say that from a voyeur who hangs out on the internet a lot, seeing people with, these trailers. They think that trailer is a gajillion pounds.
Yeah.
And it's not. A little garden trailer from Harbor Freight or the Home Depot
300 pounds.
at max,
Yeah.
right? And so that means you can carry 700 pounds of cargo on the on that trailer. And even internally, we had a conversation recently. This is my own personal belief how people are estimating. A lot of people, when they look at their checked baggage, they think 45 or 50 pounds or whatever that check bag is allowed to be. They're like, oh, that's not much, blah, blah, blah. And the reality is, you could ship a couple cinder blocks in a check baggage. And so the thing is, people are oftentimes, we are overestimating, which is good for us as general consumers because we're actually sandbagging ourselves in that process.
Keeping you safer in that metric.
Correct. But the reality of the situation is that things actually aren't as heavy as we think they are. These trailers aren't actually as heavy. And so if you have
there's things you can do to make them lighter.
and you can make the trailers themselves lighter while still being strong.
Like if I'm going to go any distance, we're talking from here to Cleveland. So not that far. We're talking, what, an hour, 45 minutes, roughly.
What part of Cleveland is he
I
going
don't.
to?
I-
All right,
all the
that's
way to the
Anyway.
west side.
I mean, he went to Sandusky as far as
Right,
I'm concerned.
yeah.
at this
Well,
point.
anyway.
He went to Elyria.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I purposely do not carry water. I purposely do not use the bathroom in the thing, so the tanks are completely empty. I purposely, we don't get to take 15 outfits. We take the amount of clothes that we need. So I'm not going to just keep loading the camper down.
Do you know how heavy your camper is, manufacturer rated?
How
How much they call their dry weight? So, folks that are listening in, if you've ever heard the concept of dry weight or wet rate, those are two different ratings. One is intended to be the manufacturer finishes with no fixtures, no anything else, no glasses or tanks full of anything. That is the dry weight of your trailer. Then your wet rate is if the tanks were full.
And you've got your luggage in there.
And you
you've
have
got
you typically they have a rating for
So,
a gross weight at that point.
Going off my memory, I want to say dry is like 18 or 22, and fully loaded is 28, if I remember right.
Okay, so
so
still
you have
put
about
you,
600 pounds of cargo.
He definitely has, and about 700 pounds that he could go while still remaining legal.
But I
within-
try to not carry as much as possible.
Did we say
Right,
is your Jeep 3,500 pounds?
Technically, it's 25
Oh, it is technically 25.
because that's what it was born with.
Ah, okay. I didn't realize the JK was so low and
It
by
has a
comparison.
Sport or Sahara.
It is that
it
25.
2,500.
Yeah. And that is when we get into again the technical pieces of longer trailers and shorter trailers, longer wheelbases and shorter wheelbases.
Well, and the next technical spec that we didn't even address is tongue weight.
Mm-hmm.
Tongue weight's very important because you could have well within the specs of the weight of the trailer, but you front load everything on the front of the trailer. Now
Yep.
your tongue weight is too high
Yes.
for the hitch setup that your
Which
vehicle has.
is another thing I do when I'm towing with the camper is I purposely pick where I'm going to load the camper with weight, and I literally will move a thing of water to a different part in the trailer so that to change the way it makes the Jeep
Well, and
squat.
because you could have the opposite problem where you have all the weight at the back of the trailer, and now
Like-
you have
like
no
when you-
tongue weight.
like when
God,
you
I've
have,
done it all, folks, and I've done it all.
like when
Ooh.
you have sheets of paper between your bump stops and your axle.
I've had it dogtailing. I've had it like fishing like this down the highway as I
If you
start to
wanna
hit 50,
see-
58.
If you want to see this perfectly, there is a video out there where I am very carefully towing home the CJ5 beautiful painted body.
When he says very carefully, folks, you just got to go watch a YouTube video to
We didn't- we
understand
didn't crack
how
48 miles
long
an hour.
of a drive it took to go what should have been 10 minutes.
We had 3 employees out on 8 hours pay each because he drove 10 miles
But
away.
anyway, besides all that,
God bless it.
we were following a guy in a little utility trailer, and he had, was it a hot water tank?
It was some kind of big tank.
It's true.
It was angled towards us on the tailgate. There's literally no weight on the tongue of this trailer at
Yep.
all. And that trailer is dancing between the white line back and forth, back
I
and
mean,
forth.
it was wiggling hard.
It was wiggling hard. And I'm like, oh, buddy.
Yep. And
I think
so
there was even
is-
some tire skip. It was
Oh,
going
oh,
somewhere.
yeah.
There is. It's in the video if I remember right. So there is a couple products out there, and maybe we'll talk about them next week. But loading your trailer, you typically your best rule for success based on a equalized center line of your axles, right? And so whether that is a single axle or a dual axle or a triple axle, you have this kind of this imaginary line, and your best rule is a 60-40 split.
Mhm.
That's a generalization. That's actually something that would be very determined by the manufacturer of the trailer. If you're Chuck listening in, Chuck has, 1,500 pounds on his tongue alone of that trailer.
The trailer has such a long tongue.
It's like the longest tongue, and it's just all steel construction. I mean, that thing, he's ready for the apocalypse in that
Yes.
adventure trailer. Beautiful expedition
Yeah,
unit.
twister could happen, and it could land on its wheels
land
and be fine.
It would be perfectly. He would just drive away, you know.
Yes.
So the 60-40 rule, and the thing is, if you have any question, they're expensive products, but there's actually a drop hitch, or
With
a
a
2-inch
scale.
hitch that actually has a scale. And so if you are a person who finds yourself
I really should get
towing,
one of those.
I was literally
you
just
actually
getting ready to
are
say,
a
Jeffrey.
person who it would make sense, right?
Yeah.
If you are a person who's hooking up to the same or a similar trailer, loading and unloading it with frequency, and you are traveling regularly around the country, that is a product that you might want because it's going to give your Jeep a better experience. You and your Jeep a better
Yes,
experience.
and you know where you're at. Instead of when you get pulled over, they go, "Do you know what you are?" And you go, "Mm."
Correct, right? And so maintaining and understanding the legal piece of this, the technical specifications of what we subject our Jeeps to and how and why is critical. Because if you just go in kind of, I don't know, Raggy, what's,
Yeah.
it's
You know,
like,
the worst thing you could tell a cop is, I don't know, because now they can assign whatever they want.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, and you could say, I believe I'm loaded 60-40 and I've got 300 pounds of tongue weight and my trailer should
Yeah.
be 2,600
And
pounds.
honestly,
And-
that might completely change the conversation because now they're like, okay, well, you at least tried.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You know, so you're not ignorant because the ultimate thing is taking responsibility for the loads that we ourselves are carrying down
Yes.
the road. Our Jeeps, outside of the Gladiator, are not pick 'em up trucks.
No.
You know,
As much as I
And-
try.
as much as we try, and being able to hook up to a camper. Those of you who follow me on my personal social, you know, my wife and I have something called an adventure trailer. That's the Alaskan trailer that I actually my sister purchased in Fairbanks, Alaska, and she and I towed down the Alcan for 2 weeks camping out of. And this trailer's been through the war with our family, and now we camp out of it. To my flat trailers, to the goosenecks, to all that kind of stuff. There is a safe way to do this and an intelligent way. But ignorance is not bliss in this conversation.
Yeah.
Understanding what our vehicles are rated for and then consciously choosing to use them is the appropriate process. Understanding that
Yeah.
maybe 2,500 pounds is the limit, but I've got 28 back there.
Well, and I don't care. You know, I have towed a car trailer with my Jeep 100 times. The one time I get on the road and suddenly it doesn't feel right, get the heck over, pull over,
Figure out why.
figure out what happened.
I
That-
100%.
That is important.
And Chuck is saying supposedly my tongue weight is 290 pounds. I've not confirmed that. I disagree. I think it's more than that.
There's no way. There's just no way that anybody can convince me that your tongue weight is
We
290
have
pounds.
tried to lift that
We've had a
tongue.
couple grown men trying. And,
That's not 300 pounds.
No.
So, anyways, Charles actually came in with some good advice. You need to make sure the drop pitch and trailer tongue are even before loading to help you decide where your weight is loaded or how your weight
100%.
is loaded. That is
Yes.
great advice.
And that is something we see constantly going down the freeway of trailers going downhill or uphill, going down the road. And that is recipes for disaster.
and here's the thing: before the Carolina squat was not cool on trucks,
yeah.
it was definitely not cool on towing vehicles.
Yes.
And so, if at any point in time you load your vehicle and the rear end of it
Jeffrey.
drops to the ground,
I've not
it's
been
like
reverse
like a
raped.
puppy, like a puppy squatting to pee, then you're doing it wrong,
Uh.
right? For the sake of the rest of us, stop,
Yes.
reload. If the vehicle's still squatting, then that vehicle is insufficient for the load that you're carrying.
Yes.
So good advice there. I mean, again, I understand. I've ran overloaded for those technical specifications. I can admit it. I'm fully conscious. My eyes are wide open in that process. And when that officer pulls me over and we have to have that uncomfortable conversation, I'm here to accept the repercussions. But because of being conscientious of how we load
Yep.
the cargo, where and how we're utilizing the vehicle, are my lights and my safety equipment functioning and hooked up appropriately, then I am consciously avoiding some of those places where
Exposes you to that
where
risk.
exposes us to unnecessary risk.
Well, and I'm going to, as a previous first responder, I'm going to tell you this. It is not just about your own safety with that load.
Yeah.
I have responded to accidents where people have been miscarrying or misloading vehicles or trailers and caused accidents that killed other innocent people.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
There's
So,
a lot of responsibility.
there's
a lot
a
of
lot-
responsibility.
A lot
in
of
that process.
responsibility, and it's your responsibility to make sure that you've taken all those steps to ensure yourself the best safe setup.
And is why, in a nutshell, Scott wants to buy a Gladiator.
Folks, this was a fun conversation. If there's more information that you're looking for as far as that technical piece is concerned, is there an acronym you'd like to know more about? Is there a rating, a number, a trailer combination, a water versus something else capacity to affecting weight in an RV? Is there something like that you want to know? We want to hear from you. You can text us on our text-only number, 440-855-2100. You can also email Jeffrey directly at jeffc@sfj4x4.com. We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What is your feedback? What have you or haven't you towed? What are some of your good experiences or really, terrible careening through the highway, brakes got too hot experiences?
Yeah. We've all been there.
We want to know, right? So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, for our hashtag not sponsored, we have a little twist on things.
And now it's time for our product spotlight. Hashtag not sponsored.
That line is-
Spotlight. Hashtag not sponsored.
All right, so we actually don't have a product spotlight for you today. Instead,
He was inspired.
I was legitimately inspired because I was towing. I promise you this.
No,
I promise you
you're
this.
never towing.
Right? The ridiculous nature of just the reality of the situation, folks. When we share with you, we're really like, this is really
Yeah,
us.
this is not an act.
This is really us. So yeah, I was big truck and car trailer over the weekend, and then I actually purposely unhooked, and I hooked up to a Jeep and a garden trailer, and so I was towing all weekend, right? But I had the opportunity because I'm moving some product and moving some stuff around. That I was exposed to a tool that I acquired many years ago, and I accredit with much of my intangible success at SFJ 4x4. And it actually a little bit has to do with the literal interpretation of proper application of leverage, which was the topic for this morning's American Hustle podcast.
That'll drop on Friday.
Yep. If you're in a podcast, you're going to want to check that out. I don't talk about this tool because I want to save it for now. It is the literal utilization of proper application of leverage. And it is a tool that I acquired completely by mistake.
The best kind of tool.
That I have decades later, and it has made a difference in my life. So I challenge you guys with what is your favorite tool? And I sent this in text message a couple days ago and said, hey,
Yep.
So hopefully you had some thinking and thought around it. What is your favorite tool in life? Right? And so there's a whole combination with towing and the American Hustle and life and low range, which is, all the things that Jeep Life exposes us to on our YouTube channel. So the challenge to you guys is, what is your favorite tool in life?
So I have to give a little qualifier. Anytime a tool, you've done something this way for so long, and then you get the tool, and suddenly it's like, oh.
Yes.
And it's just so much better.
Yes.
That is my new favorite tool for that time. So my current favorite tool is my big stomp shear, because that was that. Before I was taking a hand shear or hand snips and cutting this huge piece of metal in half, and it's squiggly and it's not straight and it's all this other stuff. So now I got to cut it again, and now I'm throwing metal away, and metal is expensive. And now I put it on this bed and I go, chink, and it's straight and it's smooth and it's one quick motion. And that is currently my favorite tool.
Interesting. And I can totally see, and this is this for me is actually kind of the conversation in the American Hustle when we've talked about interviewing and whatnot. And I have in the past asked people, if you were a candy bar, what candy bar would you be? And it becomes metaphorical for who you are and whatnot. And I can totally see the efficiency, the lack of waste, the kind of the precision nature of the stomp shear, so on and so forth. I wondered what you were going to bring to the table, and I had actually thought of you and your brake line tools that you have used successfully over the years with kind of this craftsman or artisan approach to making these beautiful pre-bent or not pre-bent, but making Scott bent lines, which are arguably, I challenge any mechanic in the world to make better lines than Scott can make, given the time and attention and access to resource.
I'm a little bit anal about it,
to say the least. I mean, this is like you driving back with that painted body. I mean, a line
wasn't going to happen on my watch, man.
No, but when you make a line, I mean, granted, you take your time and attention, but that line will be perfect when it's.
I think you just set us up for the whole welders conversation. We're going to be getting pictures of brake lines now.
Oh. You should do that.
And we got to roast it like the welders do.
I could totally do that.
Started doing brake lines 2 years ago. I've got 15 years experience.
This is a beautiful brake line.
This is a
perfectly flared
$40 an hour brake line. This is $1 an hour brake line.
This is a $7 an hour brake line. This is your box store brake line. Oh man,
I've seen some bad stuff, man.
Oh,
and personally, for one little qualifier, if it went a certain way for the factory and I'm making a new line, it's going to follow the same route. And it's going to be exactly as it possibly can. I literally love to take them off as one piece, even a rusty crusty, and follow them to a T.
Jeffrey, do you have one, or your favorite tool of all time? So Scott is he's
Scott
a fair
was very
weather
literal.
fan. He's a fair weather fan, so he's into. Well, it is. I mean, it's intended to be literal. It's a literal conversation.
So
a tool in your possession. What is your favorite tool?
I'm just gonna say that a tool is for me favorite tool is people.
Here we go. I wanted you to pick a physical tool. It was probably made by Craftsman or Cobalt, knowing you.
No. All right, if we're going to go that route, I'm going to go with a Delta planer I got when I was in high school, because that tool has 20 years later is still running amazing. My neighbor just asked to borrow it, and he was just shocked at how well it's still planing, and I've never changed the knives in it.
Huh.
20-year-old planer has been used and abused, and it's still running good. So that is definitely a favorite tool.
The fact that you can get that kind of longevity out of a motorized, one that requires sharpening.
Well,
and
Delta
motors
back then was some good tools.
Correct. Right. Nowadays you buy a Delta.
It's a Delta. It's a Delta. I was thinking it was a DeWalt. Okay.
No, Delta.
No.
Delta.
I mean, that's fine. You probably could have got a good DeWalt then too, but
Probably could.
Probably.
I mean, I got a radial arm saw that's a Craftsman that my dad bought. It's really nice.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so here we go. So I was on my college campus, and of course, unlike any of the other college kids back
Was this when you were working on your motorcycle in your dorm room?
So right. So motorcycle in the dorm room, alternators in the college parking lot.
That's fine.
Transmission swap in the college maintenance shed.
Yeah, you know that meme where it says if you don't know who the neighbor is, it's probably you.
Oh my God,
it's Neil.
Try going to a prestigious liberal arts college where it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're the kid who keeps the motorcycle in your dorm room.
I don't see any problems here.
Yeah, right.
The only reason there wasn't ever a motorcycle in my house is my wife wouldn't allow it.
I know.
But you have rebuilt engines on your dining table.
That was her parents' dining room table.
Oh,
it's different.
Even better,
right?
Even better. So here I am. I'm headed back to my dorm room, and I was probably like a late night, run to the the cafeteria, the campus center cafeteria, and I'm headed back to the dorm room, and there's a hedgerow off to the side of the main entrance, the dorm, and
this is where you find your tool.
And precariously ramrodded into the hedgerow was a wheel dolly.
Oh,
and
if it was going to be like a pry bar or a hammer, I was going to say it was probably a murder weapon that you just.
It was a wheel dolly. It was a wheel dolly, and it was actually
that's what they used to move the body.
It was actually super. It had looked like it had been well loved, and it was jammed. And I looked it all over to see if there was any tags, any indication that it was somehow belonged to the campus or
another Neil had put it precariously on a load without a strap.
Probably,
and it had bounced out.
Probably
And precariously went onto this hedgerow, for Neil to find.
Right. So I find this this wheel dolly, and I'm talking, what they used to call it. They call them hand trucks. They call them wheel dollies.
Yep.
I mean, it has a right angle foot at the bottom, two big, solid wheels, little axle, and the curvature of the solid tubular construction. It's not the cheap stuff that you
And young
buy.
Neil was like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
so,
dragging this to my dorm room
Yeah.
right
So
now.
19-year-old Neil was like, I need a wheel dolly, and I dragged that to my dorm room. Now,
Did you have a person living with you in your dorm room, or were you by yourself?
at this point in time, I'm by myself.
Oh, that's probably for the best.
It was-
His roommate moved out. His roommate
was-
requested a different
it was
roommate.
definitely for the best. Let's just call a spade a spade. So I drag this wheel dolly back, and thus ensues a relationship with this wheel dolly that I genuinely believe is foundational success to this business as we know it, because I then the ability to then use this tool to accomplish tasks that typically take 2 or 3 people. I now have a wheel dolly at 19, 20 years old.
All the
And
leverage.
so I have all the leverage.
And it's
I can
not
move
a cheap one.
I can move furniture. I can move stuff for friends. It is the concept of being the guy who has the pick 'em up truck,
Yes.
So not only can we do that, but eventually I go on to be able to get axles by myself and engine blocks, and
Mhm.
I no longer have to be subject to, hey, do I have a cherry picker, and
Yep.
is it out in the
Can
know,
my buddy come over and help?
can my buddy come over and help, and we have to run a pipe with a chain and we pick it up on our shoulders. I've
Yeah.
done it,
Yeah.
but when I was living in Pittsburgh and I was running SFJ as a part-time, I was able to go to somebody's house, pick up engine blocks, 258 engines, pick up, Dana 44 axles,
Mhm.
and strap them appropriately to this wheel dolly and
Mhm.
slide it into the bed of my pick-em-up truck. And that, to me, I recognize I end up
How
using
many
the wheel
times
dolly.
did your dolly go to a frat party?
So it's and unfortunately, I mean, if you're asking, and I'm just not that cool for our listeners to understand that I probably can count on one hand how many times I went to a frat party in my life. And so, unfortunately, I mean, we're diminishing
Me-
the
me-
outward experience of me.
Neil was cooler than me, so we'll put that in perspective of how many of those parties I've been to.
Yeah, I mean,
I
unfortunately,
don't know how I feel about this
the
conversation
same,
anymore.
the same 19 or 20-year-old who brings a wheel dolly home, who's already opened up an investment account at Edward Jones, is not the same one who goes to the frat
parties.
parties regularly. It's just
With the dolly with a keg strap
with
to
a
it.
dolly with a keg strapped to it. You know?
I may know something about that.
Which is probably where the dolly came from. You know what I mean? It was probably a kegger dolly that somebody dropped off or something. Who knows? But I was using it over the weekend, and I just thought to myself, I have been able to accomplish so many situations with the proper application of leverage, arguably by myself or with minimal help from other people, that have just been able to spur forward. It is the idea of having a really good ratchet that you really love, or a good wrench set that has never failed you. You
So
know?
real quick, Chuck is saying, "Hey friend, need some stuff moved. A lot of stuff. Hey Chuck, there's a truck for sale that would be perfect for
Perfect for you.
It definitely can handle that high tongue weight as well.
you." There you go.
The tongue weight of his trailer.
There you go. See, you're set. And then Brian just chimed in, said, "My aunt bought me a Craftsman socket set when I was 15. I still have it and use it on every project. Although I have replaced the 10 mil a few
That
times."
darn 10 mil is always running away.
It runs away. That has nothing to do with you, Brian.
So just
Yeah.
because Neil will enjoy this, when I grew up, we had probably at least 3, if not 4, wheel dollies.
Yes.
At least 3 times over the course of the last year, my wife has asked me, why don't we have a wheel dolly? I said, I do not know, and I do not know where they all went.
Oh dear. Yes.
Wheel dollies have gone missing.
Oh.
I have no idea where they went,
Probably in a hedgerow.
and I don't know why I don't have one.
Probably in a hedgerow. And I can, as a follow up to the towing conversation, I have absolutely operated my wheel dolly way overloaded over the years.
Well, it's got
So-
hard
who
wheels.
hasn't?
Right? It's got hard wheels.
It's fine.
Oh,
to clean
you
up-
can't go over capacity
Clean
with
up
hard
the
wheels.
axle a little
Yeah, it's
bit,
fine.
shimmy stuff around. Oh yeah, it's
No, when you're using one with the inflatable wheels and you're lessening the pressure so that you can take a fridge upstairs.
Yes.
I just know when it's loaded when the rim is on the ground. It's fine.
Yeah.
I know when it's loaded when the rim's on. So it sounds like Amy and you in the near future will be buying a wheel.
I've thought about it. Now I have high
And
expectations.
speaking of, she's chiming in saying her favorite tool is always a flat screwdriver.
Especially when you
Screw
go
pry chisel.
Yeah, especially when we go to the junkyard.
Screw pry chisel for the win.
No emblem is safe.
My problem with the whole topic, and the reason I went more metaphorically, is because with tools, I have depending on where I'm at, what scenario I'm in.
You are a DeWalt owner, so we have to put that in perspective.
I have some DeWalt. I have some Milwaukee.
Remember that time when
I
you
have
joined the
some
business
Craftsman.
and he wanted to?
I
He
have-
brought it as DeWalt.
He wanted to
It's
bring it as
it's like,
DeWalt
what's
stuff.
up?
What's up, guys? It's DeWalt.
That's DeWalt Impact. Oh, so glad I switched to Milwaukee.
Go ahead,
Hashtag not
rationalize your
No,
metaphorical
so-
approach,
so
and then let's close this thing out.
Every job requires different sets of tools. So there's different favorite tools depending on application. So in general, in life, my favorite tool is people, because without people, without building relationships, I would not be where I'm at today.
You're a great tool, Jeffrey.
Mine's let me down. I've been trying to cut up a tree for like 2 years now.
All right, folks.
Hey, that tree was cut down.
Jeff's a
That
tool.
wouldn't happen.
What I hear is that Jeff's a tool. And with that note,
Hey, I just want to point out that chainsaw, Neil even borrowed that, was impressed for a Craftsman.
Yeah.
it was. I have my steel, and I have the nicest chainsaw of anybody in this grouping.
That's true.
And your guys' China's chainsaws are better than my really expensive steel, as far as I'm concerned.
We're looking at you, Steel.
I'm looking at you, Steel. This Craftsman, and Greg's got an Amazon special I gave him years ago. They work great. Why my steel needs 6 times to start the cold-blooded thing, I don't know. It's definitely operator error. I do know, actually. It's operator error. Folks, I hope you had a good time with us. We'd like to know what your favorite tool is that's not Jeffrey. And so feel free to use that number I gave you before, 440-855-2100. Reach out to us. Let us know how things are going. Hey, take a moment, like and share this thing, and send it out to your friends. Let them know that there's these really awesome automotive, rugged individualism, and cool DIY conversations happening here on the I Speak Jeep podcast. Until then, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.